Storytime with Squashbox. Storytime with Squashbox. Storytime with Squashbox. Storytime with Squashbox.
Hello everybody and welcome once again to Squashbox Storytime. Once upon a time there was a fox, and this fox's name was Tricksy. Tricksy the fox. Now, Tricksy the fox lived in Pastaland. Oh, and she loved living in Pastaland because there was always something to eat. Oh, as Tricksy the fox leapt and galloped through Pastaland, she thought life was floppy. It was very floppy there because there was pasta everywhere, and although there was always nice things to eat, it was very slippy and slidey and floppy. Now one day, Tricksy the fox had had enough of living in Pastaland, and she decided that she wanted to go on an adventure. But she was a little bit scared. She didn't know what she needed. So she went to see her very good friend, the dragon of Pastaland, whose name was McJukins. Now, McJukins the dragon and Tricksy the fox were very good friends. She loved hanging out with McJukins the dragon because McJukins the dragon was yummy. Oh, he was such a yummy dragon. And whenever she was with him, Tricksy felt squelchy. Squelchy and yummy. Oh, what a lovely time McJukins the dragon and Tricksy the fox had in Pastaland. But anyway, Tricksy the fox went over to see McJukins the dragon, and McJukins the dragon had a wonderful place to live in Pastaland. He lived in outer space. It was an area of Pastaland that was vast and wild and open, and they like to call it outer space. Well, one day they were sat together in McJukins' little house in outer space, which was in the middle of Pastaland, and they were chatting. And Tricksy the fox said she wanted to go on an adventure. "Ah," said McJukins the dragon, "then you will need some things to take with you on your adventure." "What will I need?" said Tricksy the fox. "First of all, you will need a sock, but not just one sock. You will need 2 socks to keep you warm." "Socks? A fox in socks?" said Tricksy. "Done." And she put on some lovely socks. Oh, these socks were very comfy, and they were also squishy. They were squishy socks. And then McJukins the dragon said to Tricksy the fox, "You will also need crusts. You will need crusts to sustain you on your long journey. Make sure you pack some crusts in your bag." "Okay," said Tricksy the fox. But secretly to herself, she was thinking, "I wish bananas grew here," because she prefers some bananas to crusts. "And the next thing you need on your journey," said McJukins the dragon, "is a mouldy lime." "A mouldy lime," thought Tricksy the fox, and at this she couldn't keep her thoughts to herself, and she blurted out, "You rotten weasel!" Calm down," said McJukins the dragon. "This mouldy lime will come in useful on your journey. You mark my words." Well, with this mysterious statement, McJukins the dragon went back into outer space and flew around and had a wonderful time. And Tricksy the fox decided to leave Pastaland and go on an adventure. She hadn't gone far when she reached an amazing place. This amazing place was the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest was just adjacent to Pastaland, and Tricksy the fox ended up there. Oh, it was very hot in the Amazon rainforest. There were strange animals, there were strange noises. Tricksy the fox had never been anywhere like it. She was feeling very putrid. Oh, she was beginning to get a bit hot and smelly and a little bit putrid, and she thought, "I really need to find someone who can tell me what I can do here in the Amazon rainforest." And then, out of the bushes and the jungle came an amazing character. It was a frog. It was a little Amazon frog. And this frog was called Gregory George Jr. the Third. "Hello," said the little frog. "I am Gregory George Jr. the Third, and you have entered my kingdom, the Amazon rainforest. In order to pass, you must give me a gift." Well, Tricksy the fox couldn't believe it, and she blurted out, "Help me, please." "Yes, calm down," said Gregory George Jr. the Third. "I am trying to help you. And beyond my kingdom, you'll find the most amazing, wonderful land, because I see that you are on an adventure, little fox." "Yes, I am," said Tricksy the fox. "But in order to pass, you must give me something." "But I haven't got much to give you. What can I give you?" said Tricksy the fox. In all my life, the one thing I have always wanted and have never been able to find is a mouldy lime," said Gregory George Jr. the Third. Would you believe it? That's exactly what Tricksy the fox had. She took the mouldy lime from her bag and she passed it to Gregory George Jr. the Third, the king of the Amazon rainforest. And when he saw this mouldy lime, he exclaimed, "What's my name?" "Your name is Gregory George Jr. the Third." "You're right," said Gregory George Jr. the Third. "That was a test. Thank you so much for my mouldy lime. You've made my dreams come true. And now, little Tricksy fox, you may pass." Well, would you believe it? Who'd have thought the mouldy lime would have come in such handy on her adventure? So Tricksy the fox went through the Amazon rainforest, and sure enough, there beyond it was the place that she knew somewhere in her heart she'd been looking for. All that time in Pastaland, she knew where she really belonged, and it was, of course, Fairyland. Oh, Fairyland! It was the land of her dreams. And in Fairyland, she met so many new friends. She met a furry cat, and the furry cat's name was Jeremy McTiny. Tiny little furry cat. And Tricksy the fox also made another friend. She met a pirate, and this pirate, he was called... So excited I dropped it. This pirate was called Scrumble Weasel. Scrumble Weasel the pirate. But the best friend she made in Fairyland was a mermaid fairy. Of course, a mermaid fairy. And the mermaid's fairy's name was Coco Chanel. The mermaid fairy. Well, what a lovely time they had in Fairyland. Oh, but she never forgot her good friend McJukins the dragon, because you know what? She still had her crusts. And in Fairyland, because of the magic, all the crusts from her bag had turned into the most wonderful food and wonderful gifts to give all her new friends. She gave the little furry cat, Jeremy McTiny, she gave him a shrimp. That's exactly what he wanted, was a shrimp. And then she turned to her friend, the pirate, and gave him an automatic cat feeder, so he could feed Jeremy McTiny the cat when the shrimp ran out. And then she turned to her best friend, Coco Chanel, the mermaid fairy, and gave her a mushroom, because if there's anything that a mermaid fairy wants to sit on and spend her days gazing around her in Fairyland, it's a mushroom. And they all lived happily ever after. Very occasionally, McJukin the dragon would come and visit from outer space. And as she sat there in her new home of Fairyland, Tricksy the fox looked around at all her friends and said, "I don't know what to do." And that is the end of Squashbox Storytime. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Storytime with Squashbox. Storytime with Squashbox. Storytime with Squashbox. Storytime with Squashbox.